All right, about a month ago or so, I gave a prediction, a video, kind of a breakdown of Penn State's team this year and how I thought it's very possible this team could break last year's record, which is crazy to think because they lost a four-time national champion in Aaron Brooks. But if you look at how the pieces have rearranged themselves, it looks very, very possible that this team can do it. And there's a couple weights where they've improved their stock, their standing, how many points they're going to score. There's a weight where they've actually dropped in perception, and then there's some weights where they've held firm, right? Okay, let's start with where they've dropped in perception. And it's through no fault of this wrestler's doing, but the fact is, Gable Stevenson's back, and that just invariably slots you down, everyone down a rung, including Greg Herfleet, who scored 23.5 points last year at NCAAs. And so now, instead of having to face maybe a Wyatt Hendrickson, which was a very tough match in the finals, now you're going to have Wyatt maybe in the semis, and then you're going to have to beat Gable for the finals. So you can expect 4, maybe 7 points fewer at heavyweight, right? Now, where has Penn State potentially increased their standing? Well, I think you start at 197. Josh Barr, who was, in a roster battle to make the team, and then he left no doubt at the Black Knight when he beat Connor Mirasola by major and Lucas Cochran by major, that he was the guy for Penn State. You combine that with what we saw him do in freestyle this summer, where he lost to Aiden Sinclair, and then he beat him 2 out of 3, and then got world silver, losing to a world-class guy in the world finals. And Josh Barr is the man. And now we see him take out, take down, dominate Michael Beard. And now he's not a guy that could get 8th place. He's looking like a top 5-ish guy. So where I had him slotted for 5.5 points, he looks to be someone that could score 12, 15 points. And so now where we thought there was a huge drop-off there because Aaron Brooks scored like 24 there last year, now instead of losing like 15, 19 points, maybe it's only like 8 or 9 points. And you know what? There's other people, not me, that are saying Josh Barr's a title contender this year. He could win NCAAs. I'm not ready to go there yet. I need to see him beat a Cardenas, to beat a Buchanan, to beat a AJ Ferrari or a Rocky Elam. But anyone else, I think I would slot Josh Barr ahead of them. So I think he's around a 5th, 4th place finisher. And coming into this year, I didn't think that would be the case necessarily. I thought the potential for Barr was really high, but I didn't think this was the right weight class for him. He looks, while undersized, he looks big enough to do a lot of damage at 197. Now, at 184, Carter Starachi, we thought he was going to be the national champion this year. He was my pick, and he beats Parker Keckheisen in the All-Star Classic. So his standing remains, and he's been very dominant. So while I had him at 20 points, I think he could score 20 to 24 at NCAAs. So maybe a few points higher on the bonus category for Carter Starachi. 174, Levi Haynes. I think he's going to win NCAAs this year. I really do. I think he beats Keegan O'Toole. I think he beats Dean Hamady. Those two guys are super, super tough. But Levi is fantastic. And so I think they're about the same at 174 as they were a year ago, where Carter Starachi scored 20 points exactly. I honestly think Levi's going to score more. Even if he doesn't win NCAAs, there's a chance he scores more than 20 points at 174. So they're either neutral or moving up at 174. And at 165, Mitchell Messenbrink, they're going to score more points than they did last year. He's a big favorite to win NCAAs this year. Nothing's changed there. Big points coming from Mitchell. 157, they had 20-some points from Levi last year. Now it's Tyler Kasak. And this weight is really falling apart in a lot of ways from a health perspective. You've got Daniel Cardenas is redshirting. Ja'Cory Teamer, a serious injury, hamstring. We don't know the degree. I believe he's going to be back, but he suffered an injury. Meyer Shapiro, we haven't seen him in a couple weeks after suffering what looked to be a concussion. So there's a lot of turmoil at this weight. And for a freshman moving up, now a sophomore, Tyler Kasak, he looks like he's going to have a really strong showing here. So while he's kind of gone from like an All-American guy to now, could he be a potential finalist or even better? So there's stock up here. Shane Van Ness, about what we thought, super dominant and a title contender at 149. Bo Bartlett, steady as he goes, big point scorer at the NCAA tournament. Obviously, Jesse Mendez and Andrew Liras are there, and so he's probably looking for 3rd place points, but I think he could still score comparable points to last year. And then 133 and 125. no change here in the perception, right? Luke Lillidahl has not lost. Braden Davis has only lost to Ryan Crookham, number one. So I'm still not as sure. I do think in my previous video I said I think Luke Lillidahl can place and place pretty high. I had him at third place. I still think that's true, but I haven't seen anything to make me think, oh yeah, for sure that's going to happen, or for sure it's not going to happen. He's passed every test, but we need to see Luke against more elite guys. And the kind of disappointing thing is I don't think we're going to see Luke against many top 10 wrestlers. His next match is against Wyoming, and you would think, okay, yeah, Jory Volk, but I don't think we're going to see Jory. I think Jory's dealing with an injury that's going to keep him out of that match. I hope we see it. I hope Jory's back. But if that's the case and we don't see him against Jory, I think it's not till second semester where you can see Caleb Smith and not a lot of other ranked 125. So still a lot to learn, and we're going to go into Big Ten still kind of wondering how good Luke Lillidahl is. I think we're going to be, there's going to be a lot of unanswered questions about Luke, but there's no denying his pedigree. And then at 133, Braden Davis, it's crazy to think that the quote weak link at Penn State, and I use that in quotes because, the weak link is a former one seed at NCAAs last year, or Aaron Nagao, who is fantastic as well. That's just how good this team is. And Braden Davis, you look at 133, this is a weight with tons of fluctuation. And Braden was very consistent last year. And you may say, well, he was the one seed and he DNP'd. Well, he lost to Richard Figueroa and Luke Stanich. It's not like he bombed out. This was a weight of chaos all last year. And now he's in at 133. He's not going to be probably the one seed this year. But I would be surprised to see him DNP this year. I think the weight is open for him. I think he's good sized. He's looked strong. And even in defeat against Ryan Crookham, I thought he looked pretty solid. So I think there may be a step up here at 33 from last year. And so if you're asking me from the preseason to now, am I more or less confident in Penn State re-breaking the record? I'm honestly more confident. I think it's more likely now than I thought it was a month ago. And it's a scary thought just how good this Penn State team is. They've got some pretty big duels coming up and some tests for their individuals. But right now, not only is Penn State a runaway favorite to win an NCAA title, but they look like they're poised to potentially re-break their own record that they set last year. A very, very insane thought. But what do you think? Is Penn State possibly going to re-break the record, or am I way off here? What do you think?